figure out where you belong in the world of nutrition, because it is so vast and it's highly competitive. And if you go broad, it's going to be a lot harder to find high quality clients.
Welcome to the Holistic Nutrition Hub podcast, the show that helps you take your nutrition business, marketing, and consulting to the next level. Today, I'll be chatting with nutritionist and social media marketing expert, Jenni Bourque. You might know her from her previous business called Naughty Nutrition, but she now runs her own social media marketing company called Social Wellness Co. Jenni, welcome to the show.
It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get into a lot of very interesting topics with you today, including building email lists, producing and scheduling quality content, generating engagement with your community. But before that, can you tell us a little bit about your journey from nutritionist to digital marketer? How did that shift happen?
Oh my goodness. It's been a journey. So I actually have a background in advertising. I went to school in Toronto. I went to Seneca and took the creative advertising program back in like 2008. So it looked different. Like marketing looked totally different. It was traditional media. It was very like agency focused, where, you know, they talked big agency, getting into a big agency, doing your internship there, whatever. And it wasn't really my bag. And then studied nutrition, obviously graduated as a holistic nutritionist from CSNN, and then got pregnant. So it's like this huge journey. I got pregnant and I was like, I don't know what to do. And then I connected with Mirna. A lot of people know Mirna Sharafadine, who works for Nutrigenomics now, but connected with her, and we had this idea of like curating all these recipes from nutritionists and making a cookbook out of it, which never came into fruition. But we ended up starting a blog, and from there we were like, how do we grow this to like make an impact and actually monetize it? So we started taking courses. We started learning how to do like email marketing. We started learning about growing our email list, email marketing, growing our social media channels, blogging, which is a huge thing in of itself. Like blogging, there's a lot that goes into it, and people think, oh, you just like write something and put it on a website. And it's like so deep. SEO, like learning how to actually drive people to your blog, Pinterest marketing, all the things, right? So from there, we grew it to a point where it was making money and it was doing well, but we both had like, you know, I had my kid and all these other things happening. And then I got a contract as a freelance social media manager. It was like just this random thing. I was like, you know what, I'm going to try. I got a contract and I loved it. And I like took this brand, which is a major calorie counting app. They run mostly through the States, but they're kind of all over the world. And I like grew their account and started generating engagement within the community, and it just, what they had and what like I kind of helped them with was amazing. And I was like, you know, I can do this. So and because of my networking journey with Naughty Nutrition, I just have gained clients. And then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna turn this into a business. So we sold Naughty Nutrition, and I'm here and feeling good about it. Yeah.
That's a really great, right. That's a really great story. So through that journey and going through, you know, growing Naughty Nutrition, and then with this one company that contracted you, and now with your other clients that you work with around social media, what have been, we'll get into the tactics and all those things later, but what have been some of the pillars in terms of the principles that you've used, with things you've done every day, or ways to think about marketing? Can you talk a little bit about your philosophy around that?
So I know a lot of people right now are thinking growth, like, oh my God, I need more followers. I need this, I need that. But bringing it back down to community is one of my biggest pillars. And it's like, I think it's part of my online copy and stuff, that connecting, right? So instead of focusing on like, how can I get more followers? I like to encourage my clients to focus on how you can nurture your current followers so that they talk about you and they start telling people about you, because that growing more organically and authentically from actually socializing with your audience is the best way. It's the best way to create more engagement. It's the best way to grow organically. And it's the best way to kind of like scale and grow exponentially as word of mouth gets out and as more people are excited about what you're doing.
Yeah, I guess that maybe not flies in the face, but that goes in a different direction compared to not everything, but a lot of what you see online in terms of, you know, all you have to do is just pay for ads and you'll get those people in and they'll do your program. And essentially if you set up all these systems, you never have to connect with them one-on-one or, you know, answer a comment. So is that kind of the opposite way? I guess there are two different ways of doing it. They're not right or wrong, but so you're definitely talking more about no, let's create relationships. Let's get to know the people that follow us and that care about what we do and then engage with them over time, right?
Yeah. I mean, there is an element to paid ads because right now the way that social media like Facebook and Instagram specifically work is they don't really show your content unless you're paying for it. So like putting budget aside for that, but it's all strategic, right? So my biggest thing is there has to be that community engagement alongside a little bit of paid marketing, because I mean, you own a business, you have to put money into marketing, but yeah. And you know, like you have a group, right? A Facebook group, like engagement with that community is like huge, right? So yeah, it's a bit of both, but.
Yeah, like you said, it doesn't have to be one or the other. You have to find your right balance, and
Yeah.
like you said, engagement with your community is super important. So let's dive into that topic to start with. What do you recommend to your clients, or what do you do for your clients if you manage their accounts, you know, fully in order to build up that engagement, create those relationships, and make sure that you're actually growing organically with the people around you that follow you?
So that's a good question. Engagement is like multi-layered, I think. If we're talking Instagram, which everybody's talking Instagram, so everybody's just struggling with growing their Instagram following and engagement, definitely setting aside time every single day. I usually set aside like 15 minutes per client to go through their followers list and comment authentic, not just like a little emoji, but like really relate to what the caption's saying and make it, you know, a conversation. Watching Instagram stories. Right now, Reels is huge. So if you have the option for audio and like you're okay with using Reels, getting started with that, because I've actually been doing some research on this lately, and Instagram they've just changed everything. So if you aren't using Reels, like they're putting priority to show Reels as like first up in the feed. So if you're not using Reels and you want to increase your engagement, do that. With growing communities, like if you have an email list, you know, nurturing your audience through regular emails, and like you can map out like a month's worth of email content, and it can be as simple as just like sending a blog post or a little reminder or like anything, right? It could just be a link to another platform. It could be anything. Just providing that actionable information. And using your stickers on your Instagram stories. So showing up Instagram stories every day and using your stickers so that you can actually create that engagement. Like, you know, the DM me or the comment, like the caption one, the polls, quiz, all of these things are fun, dynamic engagement tools. So there's that. There's a lot of other strategies, and it depends on what channel you're on, but yeah, finding ways to add those elements into your marketing rather than just doing like a Facebook and Instagram post is going to help build that engagement.
Yeah, I think you're right. Trying to connect one-on-one with people, whether it's through the comments. I like responding to stories directly because it does end up in the direct messages. And then from there, sometimes a natural conversation kind of arises without having to say anything crazy, but just, you know, congratulating someone through the the story if they post something that's relevant. So that's always important things to do. You mentioned email lists. So a lot of people hear that they have to grow their email list. It's kind of a redundant thing in the field, but what are your strategies? Where do you start? Kind of give us the 101 of growing your email list.
Right. So with email marketing, I mean, the best place to start is like going way back to the beginning and like really knowing your niche, knowing like what your topic is, whether it's gut health or hormones or whatever, and then building lead magnets based off of kind of what content you want to give out. So if it's going to be group programs, or if it's going to be like you have a signature program that you're going to give out, making sure that lead magnet directly relates to solving the problems of your audience, but also relating it back to that core program that you're giving out, whatever it may be, and not giving away too much information. So I know there's a lot of elements, but if you are trying to grow your email list, you want to be growing an authentic email following that wants the information that you're going to provide and will eventually enroll and pay for whatever it is that you're selling. So if it's broad, and I've made this mistake with Naughty Nutrition, we're like, oh, let's just do a smoothie guide, right? And it's so broad and you're capturing so many different problems, right? You're capturing so many different emails of people who have different problems rather than just one specific thing. Mm-hmm. And eventually you're not going to be able to sell your program that effectively with your email list because the people there don't want what you're selling, right? So making sure you know what it is that you want to sell and then building that email list based off of that, that end game. So that's like my biggest piece of advice, because a lot of people make the mistake of just like, I'll just put something out there, right? I just want to start generating emails like that. I just want to start growing it. And that could be something that hinders the sales in the long run. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wanted to get your opinion on something that I've changed my mind about in the course of the years that I've been doing this. What is your take on unsubscribing? So when you see people unsubscribing from your list, what does that mean to you?
I think it's great.
I think
it's great. I mean, it's hard. Like you're like, oh, why didn't they? It's a shot to your ego at first, but if they're unsubscribing, it's a natural purge. And I always recommend purging lists, like purge your Instagram list, purge your email list. Make sure that those people who are on your list are your people. So I know at first it's like, ugh, but then down the road, it's good because they're not your people and they're not going to buy from you anyways. So it's better to have them gone rather than you actually have to manually remove them yourself. So yeah. I know it's hard.
It is hard, like you said, but it is important to have a community that cares about what you put out and not that just, deletes every single email that they get from you and then kind of moves on to the next one. So like you said, making sure that only the people that want to listen are there is gonna, yes, like you said, it's a shot to the ego, but at the end of the day, it's just numbers. What matters is not the counter on the Instagram or the email list. It's what you can get on the other side of that in terms of conversions. You mentioned creating some handouts and some things in order to capture the email lists. I think that's a really good point, because we have to create that incentive for people to actually want to make that trade. I give you this, you give me your email. So in the realm of creating those handouts, what do you usually recommend people start with? If they've never made one, they don't know where to start, what do you usually recommend?
You know what? Canva is amazing. So actually, let me bring it back because that's kind of designing one, but starting with one, like actually starting with the core content, mm-hmm. I'd recommend if you're feeling very confused as to what to do, there's a lot of great resources out there of lead magnet ideas. So picking what you want, whether it's a recipe plan or I really like swipe files. Like I've downloaded a lot where it's like Facebook ads. These are really creative Facebook ads, and they just give you like 20 Facebook ad ideas so that you can use it as inspiration. So swipe files or prompts, lists, printable like fridge, like a blank meal planner, or, you know, all these things. So picking one and then going back to what your audience needs. So what in marketing, it's like their biggest pain points and who they are. So if it's for moms, if it's for, you know, women who have hormonal issues, PMS, or they're postmenopausal, premenopausal, and then figuring out kind of like one problem that you can solve and then putting it in whatever that lead magnet is that you choose, and then going to something like Canva and designing it and just using one of their templates, add in your logo, your colors, like your brand colors, your fonts, and then just adjusting their templates and printing it off as a PDF or downloading it as a PDF, and then connecting it to your email marketing system. So yeah, I know it sounds like a lot, but like once you actually sit down and you're like, this is the problem I want to solve, and this is what I choose as a lead magnet, it kind of like, it'll come together.
Right. And for those who've never done it before, the first one is always the hardest one. And then it all gets easier and you find little tricks along the way to just speed up the process and make it more efficient. Where do you recommend that people place that email capture in order to get that exchange between the lead magnets and the email?
Like on their website? Do you
Website,
mean
social media in general? Should they promote it everywhere? What's your take on that?
So on your website, you can create a pop-up form or embed a form, and your email marketing tool, whether it's MailChimp or whatever, will teach you how to do that if you don't know how to do that. And then from there, or you can create a landing page, just like have its own little space where it's a unique link, and most email marketing platforms give you that option to like design one. So starting there, and then you can promote that link on all of your social media channels. So, you know, add it to your link in your bio link on Instagram. You can recycle content, you know, you can put in blog posts and then use that blog post to promote on social media. You can take pieces from your lead magnet and use it as like stagnant Instagram posts, put it on Facebook. You can reach out to people who have engaged with your content directly and say, hey, I just launched this, you know, free resource. If you want it, here's the link for it, which I find is a lot. Your engagement on that will be a lot better, because if they're already engaging with you, they probably want more information, and they're most likely to click on it. And you don't have to be spammy about it. It could just be like, hey, I just dropped this. Like, download it if you want. Don't download it. Up to you. I just thought I'd share. Yeah, so there's like a lot of places you can put it. Right now, they say 13 touch points. So it could take up to 13 times for somebody to see your content before they actually make a decision on it. And that goes for anything. So that would go for potentially a lead magnet. So put it wherever you can.
When you mentioned Instagram and the bio link. So for those who don't know, you can only put one link in your bio link in Instagram. Do you have any tricks for people that might want to not change the link every 2 seconds when they have something different to promote?
Yeah, you can use Linktree, which is free. You can, I think there are a couple other ones, like link in bio, I think is one. You can design, I have a couple clients where we've designed landing pages, and they look amazing. So it's just a bunch of squares with photos, and then you can click on them to drive. It's like if you're promoting multiple things during the week, then having a visual component where like photos are attached to it might be beneficial. Yeah, so there's a lot of tools, and you can Google where they are.
Yeah, Linktree is definitely a very popular one. I like what you mentioned about creating a landing page on your website that essentially behaves like a Linktree. The advantage being is that through your analytics, then you see where people are coming from, and then where they're clicking, how many time they're spending on the page. And that can give you some really valuable information as to, hey, should I promote this more or that more? Should I reshuffle my buttons around? I guess you can probably do it with the paid version of Linktree, but that's a free way of doing it directly on your website. So we talked about, creating those lead magnets, trying to capture some emails. Let's talk about content. So we know it's important to create content. We know it's important to promote that content. For people that, maybe are just starting out, that have a small budget, how do you create content, high quality content, without spending too much money?
Good question. So I guess it depends on the type of content. Canva is a really good one. And I know it's an expense, but I would highly recommend, like 100% recommend the premium version, the paid version. I think it's under $200 Canadian a year. I think it's maybe like 130 US a year, something like that. And then you can unlock so many features. I've been doing stop motion animation with it lately. You can unlock stock video content. You can animate any post that you design. Like you can play with the text. It'll like swing in and slide out and all of these things. And it has templates for Instagram stories. I just created a lead magnet in Canva. So I just love it. I love it. And I use Adobe Creative Suite as well. And it's just so much easier. So Canva is a great way. I would definitely recommend, if you're going to be using Canva for like branded templates and stuff, you can create a little brand section in there. So making sure you're adding your color palette, making sure you're adding your logos, any brand photos that you have, all of that jazz. And then you can just easily like chop and change their templates or create your own. For food photography, if that's part of your practice and how you want to grow your audience by offering really good recipes and food content, I would recommend getting some sort of training, whether it's like you're on Skillshare is a really great platform for learning how to create your own content with like a high quality camera. So you could check out Skillshare. I think it has a very low annual fee as well. Or just like YouTube how to do it. If you want to go the free route, like just YouTube how to, use a camera and how to like set up your recipes so that it looks good when you take the photo, like close to a window, you have a light reflector, all of these little things. And that's where Naughty Nutrition started out. We actually took the Minimalist Baker's food photography course. I think we got it on sale for like $100. So it was a really good investment. So food photography courses, Canva. If you're not really like great at copywriting, definitely taking a copywriting course as well could be beneficial. And like copy design, and just like knowing what your audience wants is the best type of content. So learning, like just learn it, figure out if you don't have the money for it, then find free resources and learn how to do it so that it gets better over time.
Right. Is video something that you recommend to your clients in terms of content creation, whether it's for Instagram, for YouTube, or other platforms?
Yes, 100%. Video's king. Copy is queen, I think. Like, I don't know, maybe a bit of both, but video is definitely the future of digital marketing. But it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, this is the thing, is like, just get started and figure it out as you go and make it like messy and learn, right? Actually, a trend that's happening in 2020, I've just done a trends dive. Our audiences are looking for imperfect content. There's been a shift away from like perfectly curated feeds, and people are just looking for like authenticity. And that's why TikTok's so popular, is because it's authentic and real, and people are just like, what? Like, I'm a normal person. So yeah, like, learn video. I'd maybe start with Instagram stories to get used to being in front of a camera, or doing Facebook lives, maybe trying to do a webinar training, something like that, where you're talking into a camera, so you're not one-on-one, you don't see your audience, and it's not so scary, I guess. Or even just like record video of yourself on your phone and just get it right, get it to where you feel comfortable, and then upload it into your Instagram stories. So just getting started is like key for video. It doesn't have to be perfectly produced, because
Yeah,
it's very expensive. So
it's true. It's everybody has access to a phone nowadays, and you can make great videos even just with a phone. One thing I wanted to touch on that you mentioned, start imperfectly. Something that jumped to mind is the channel on YouTube called Video Influencers. They have a huge following. If you look at their videos now, they're immensely professional in the way that they're edited and crafted. The script is perfect. If you go back to their channel and go back to their first video, it's literally a dude with a hoodie on in a really dark room, and he's like, I guess I'm gonna make some videos now. And that's literally his first video and the first time that he's ever done it. And now he's taken it all the way to, they've got, I believe they have hundreds of thousands of, if not millions of subs, and a huge influence on many people now on how to create videos. So I think your advice on, you just have to get started, make it imperfect. And then another thing you mentioned is TikTok. So TikTok for marketing, is it important? Should people be on there? Should people post on there? What's your take on that?
Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Okay, so in America, it's, hard to get. I think it's been recently banned, so you can't download it. So if your audience is American, maybe not. Reels, yes. Though I don't like Reels as much. I have a I shouldn't say that I have like a hate relationship with Reels. I think it's great for engagement. I think that right now, Instagram's putting emphasis on those accounts that are actually using their Reels option, which is just sneaky. And to me, it's just like the engagement is lower on accounts that choose to not use Reels, which is it just, I feel like that's just not a nice thing to do.
Right.
But at the same time, like, what do? You can't go head to head with Instagram. So get on Reels. A lot of accounts don't have audio. Like my business account doesn't have audio, and that sucks as well, because it's like all about the audio, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can try TikTok. I don't personally use it for my company, but I use it for a brand. I actually own another company, and it's like an e-commerce website. So I use it for that, because we can showcase our community members and we can showcase the products that we have. I see a lot of nutritionists on there. I see a lot of dietitians on there. So you can try it, but I'd start with Reels. As much as I hate to say it, I would definitely start with Reels.
Yeah, for people who don't know the connection, Reels is kind of Instagram grabbing what TikTok has done really well and then making their own version, just like they really took snaps from Snapchat and turned it into stories back in the day. So it's that shift that's slowly happening. But like you're saying, making a reel, at least today, is not as nice and as easy and as good, as user friendly as actually making a TikTok, which has many features that reels don't have yet. That'll probably be added as time goes on. But for that, it's true. And like you said, the platform TikTok in and of itself is kind of in iffy waters at this point in time from a legal perspective. There's the whole idea behind who owns the company, where they are, and what that means about the data that's shared. So I guess that's a little bit of a side story, but maybe interesting for those who aren't aware of that world as a whole. So TikTok, making videos, or not TikTok, maybe Reels and making videos. You've created that content, and now what do you recommend? Posting it as soon as you've made it, scheduling it out? Should you post it manually? Should you use a scheduler? Can you kind of give your take on that?
For Reels or TikTok?
Just
or
content. Let's do content in general.
Okay.
Videos, pictures, copy. How do you recommend that people organize their calendar and their posting?
So I definitely recommend mapping out a calendar, a promotional calendar, and I'm like far in advance. So at least 60 to 90 days of strategy, because the more strategic you get with your content and how you want to put it out there into the world, the better it will be, rather than just being like, oh, I took a pretty photo today, I'm just going to upload it now. Like when auto scheduling at least a week in advance, you get the ability to put your content in there, go back, refine it, say, oh, like I have a spelling mistake in that, or, you know, the grammar's not right, or maybe I could reword this a little bit better. As somebody like with copywriting experience, first draft is never a perfect draft, like edit. So and getting strategic with like the way that you want to grow your community and build a community. And if you can look at it from like a 3-month perspective, like for example, we have Cyber Monday and Black Friday coming up in a couple months, and you should be thinking about that now, right? So if you can like look at your calendar and say, okay, I'm going to run a 3-day sale to my program, a flash sale, and it's going to go on for 3 days. What do I need to do ahead of time to make sure that I'm building my audience, like engaging with my community? And then when I have that sale, I'll get more, like I'll make more money, right? Mm-hmm. So thinking about that ahead of time, and you can think about it in quarters or like month if you're really not feeling comfortable with, you know, your promotions quite yet. Like if you're at the stage where you're just building out a program, then maybe think about like, how are you creating awareness, and like, how are you growing your email list, and what channels do you want to put them on, and where can it go, and how many times do I need to like repurpose this content to make it impactful? So I definitely do recommend scheduling out your content ahead of time, and thinking about it from like a longer timeline. So there's that. For my own personal brand, I do it like a week ahead of time. And that's mostly because I just don't have the time to sit and do my own content in like 2 to 4 weeks worth. But I do have some clients where I map it out for a month, and then if things pop up, then I'll put it into the calendar for them. So I think it's just like individually, like where are you, but carving out at least a couple hours in your schedule in the week to like sit and be mindful with your content and think about it from kind of like a not so impromptu perspective, and like, how do these posts connect with one another, right? Like if you're doing a reels and you're talking about like 5 ways to heal your gut or something, right? Like just throwing that example out there, then how can you put out a blog post or another stagnant Instagram post or a resource article or a freebie that's all connected to that main goal, right? So thinking about it kind of like longer term is great for getting strategic and then fulfilling your end goal, which is to enroll people in your program or sell your program or whatever.
And when it comes to what platform to use to pre-schedule your content and organize it like that, do you have some to recommend? And then maybe on the back end of that, what are some of the mistakes that people need to look out for when scheduling content ahead of time?
Right. So if you want to go free, Later or Planoly, I like Later better because it's just more intuitive, I guess. However, if you are okay with budgeting, then maybe you look into like Agorapulse or Buffer, Hootsuite, because these platforms give you the ability to look at your analytics from like a very broad perspective, rather than, you know, going into each individual post and being like, oh, okay, like I have to look at everything on a one-on-one basis. So it kind of gives you like this broad overview of how your social media is running. That you can engage with your audience directly from these tools. So Agorapulse, I use it for one of my clients, and which gets a ton of messages every single day, and you can just do it all from that one account. You don't have to go into each individual social tool to do it. They also have social listening capabilities. So Agorapulse, you can check in with your competitors and see what they're doing, which is great for A, trends, B, just being mindful of like what your competitors are doing and how you can fill the gaps, like not necessarily copy their content, but say, oh, they haven't posted about this topic. Like, how can I fill that gap, right? So social listening is great. Same with like hashtags, like just figuring out what kind of hashtags are right for your platform. A lot of these paid social media tools have that capability. So those are kind of like comparing against later, which is like really easy and maybe a great place to start versus going deep into your strategy and listening what the trends and what's going on in the world of social media. So definitely look into all of them. Figure out what's right for you.
Something that you mentioned before, I wanted to come back on it. You talked about repurposing content. So for people that aren't aware of what it is, can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. So repurposing your content is essentially taking one topic and saying it in different ways, or just taking that one topic and creating content from different points of view. So going back to like five ways to get started on healing your gut. This could be a blog post, and then you can turn it into a social media post. You could put it into an email. You can do an Instagram story. You could do a reels on it. You can do live. You can go live on your Instagram or live on your Facebook. There's so many ways where you can take that concept and shift it to say it in a different way or connect it in a different audience or whatever. So just thinking about, like, I know people get hung up on, oh my God, if you're posting 5 times a week, I need 5 different topics. And it's like, well, no, you don't. You can actually take one main topic and it should connect back to what you want to sell, right? So or what niche you're in, and I can just say it in a different way. So you don't really have to get hung up on this idea of like, oh my gosh, I need so many different content ideas. Like, you can actually roll with one idea just in different ways.
I think that's a great tip, because like you said, a lot of people get paralyzed by the number of times that they should, quote unquote, be posting, and where am I going to find all those ideas? I wrote 10 down and now I'm out of ideas. But like you said, take it that one thing that you created, whether it's in written form, in video form, or else. And like you said, cutting it up into little pieces, rephrasing it, maybe just taking a quote out and making a tweet out of it. You mentioned Canva before for animations. You could do a little slideshow with the main points of your blog, the five ways, for example, and then put that, even you can then embed that back in your article so that you give the opportunity to people to consume your content in different ways. So I think that's a really good piece of advice. I got a few rapid fire questions for you here, Jenni.
Okay.
What gets you fired up in the world of marketing today?
Like positive or negative?
Positive. Let's start with the positive. We'll do the negative after.
Who fired up? I think creative content. Like I really, as much as I'm a social media marketer, my core focus, and I've been thinking about my niche and like going back, is content creation. I love food photography. I love getting in Canva and designing stuff. I love finding different ways to like get creative. So that, I think that that fires me up. Yeah. Positively.
And then let's take the fired me up the other way and talk about what fires you up, but not in a good way.
All of the like must do's. And I was talking about Instagram and how I've just been feeling discouraged lately with Instagram. Just, if you don't do it this way, then you're not going to get engagement. Or if you don't do it this way, then you're not going to make sales. Like all of this advice of, what you shouldn't do and how to do it better and properly and all of that, I think that fires me up negatively, I guess.
No, that's a good point. putting too many constraints on what you do is never good, especially when you're starting out, and especially when you're trying new things. And now you have this set of 20 rules of, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. Oh, I wanted to do that, but I can't. And I think, like you said, trying things out, look at your analytics, look at the engagement that you get back, and then see what actually makes sense for you and for your audience. What are some of the books that have had the most influence on you in the last few years?
Oh, that's a good question, because I'm a mother and work a lot of hours. I hate to say this, but I don't read a lot. But so I'm actually reading right now. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. It's on positioning. It's on product. You know what? It's on product positioning. It's amazing. It's by Amy Dunford. I'll get the name of the book and I'll send it to you, because I'm honestly drawing a blank of the title of it. But
we'll put that in the podcast description for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I can't answer that question better.
Okay. And then in terms of influences, people that have influenced you in what you do in marketing, if you had to recommend 2 or 3 people for others to follow in that realm, who would you mention?
So they're more like Neil Patel is a good,
Mm-hmm.
a good platform. It's more like digital marketing platforms that I really digest a lot from. Social Media Examiner. And his name, the guy, he has a podcast, and obviously drawing a blank on that too. But if you go to socialmediaexaminer.com, like they're a major player in the world, Neil Patel, like Buffer and Hootsuite, WordStream. These are all like great tools that I digest on a regular basis. And they have a lot of trainings. Molly Pittman, Kat Howell, they're really great for if you want to learn more about Facebook marketing and ads. If you want to like really dive into like how to create impactful and get the most return on investment from your Facebook ads, because it's a crazy world, and it's like there's a lot of information there. So Molly Pittman and yeah, Kat Howell, they're 2 good ones as well. Yeah, those are my top ones right now.
I think that's a decent list to get started for those who don't necessarily follow many people in the world of marketing up until now. What advice would you have for students that are just starting out, that are still maybe in school and that want to get ahead in the realm of marketing, and then when they set up their consulting business or their nutrition business, that they already kind of know the ropes and understand it better so that they can start right away?
Figure out where you belong in the world of nutrition, because it is so vast and it's highly competitive. And if you go broad, it's going to be a lot harder to find high quality clients. So I've talked about niche quite a bit, kind of just figuring out where you fit and what category you fit into. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If you're like, oh, I like all the health things, you can start somewhere and shifting. You will shift always in your business, always. So just kind of like figuring out that category that you fit into. And the best thing is kind of just think back of your own health. And I think a lot of practitioners, have had gut issues, or they've had IBS or Crohn's, or they've had major hormonal issues. They have thyroid issues, whatever, right? Or they're in the fitness world. Or they've had like one big topic right now that's popping up is having, orthorexia is huge in the nutrition world, and mindful eating and getting back to like intuitive eating patterns. So that's like another huge thing. If you've had like this experience where, you've been impacted by your own negative eating patterns, like maybe that's a streamline. So just kind of like starting where you fit, because if you enter the world as just a registered holistic nutritionist, or the other title, that's just as a nutritionist or nutritional consultant, then it's going to be hard. So
No, I think that's great advice to finish on. Just figure out yourself before you try to figure out, the world around you, and start from you, and everything becomes a lot easier when you start from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Where can people find out more about you and what you do, Jenni?
Um, Instagram's probably the best spot, or my website, but to be honest, I don't update it that often. I am launching a lead magnet soon. I'm launching a free resource on email marketing.
Nice.
So if you get on my email list, if you go to socialwellnessco.com and just subscribe to my email list, I'll be sending that out to my subscribers soon. So if you are struggling with email marketing and you want to grow your email list in like a really truly authentic way, then I'd recommend doing that. But yeah, check me out on Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time.
All right. We'll link you on Instagram and also on your website link in the show description. So for all the viewers and the listeners, please go ahead and follow Jenni on Instagram. Go subscribe to her email list to get that freebie dropping soon. Jenni, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, and thank you so much for sharing all your expertise.
Thanks for having me on.
All
Great
right.
time.
Take care.
Okay, bye.